Hello and welcome to the chemistry topic for Reactivity series, lesson 2, metal reactions. We're going to take a look at the different reactions of metals and in particular the reactions of metals with acids. All metals react differently depending on the substance they're mixed with. So you take a look at this little video here, you can see that the metal that's placed in that liquid is reacting, and we can tell that when we observe it because we can see the gas that's being given off, and you can see that because you can see the bubbles. Okay, now more reactive metals in the reactivity series react violently with dilute acids such as hydrochloric acid. So make sure you've done lesson 1 because you need to know the reactivity series, and that was what we covered. So the 3 top metals at the top of the reactivity series are potassium, sodium and calcium. So they will react violently with dilute acids. Now, when any of the metals react, they will release a gas, hydrogen, and we need to be able to know that it's hydrogen and prove it. So we do a test, and you can do this by using a lighted splint. You'll bring the lighted splint over the test tube, like shown in that little diagram, and if the gas that's released is hydrogen, you will hear a squeaky pop. Now, I suggest you note that down because it's really important and it will come up again in questions. Now, you also need to know, be able to write the word equations for the reactions of the metals from the reactivity series with acid. So the metal will react with the acid and it will form a salt and hydrogen gas. So we'll give you an example. If you've got magnesium and you react it with hydrochloric acid, because you've used hydrochloric acid, you will get magnesium chloride as your salt and hydrogen gas. Now, we can use the reactivity series to predict which metals will react with the acids, producing the salt and hydrogen. I'm going to show you how. So here's a copy of the reactivity series that we looked at in lesson 1, and hydrogen is highlighted on there. That's really important to explain this. So potassium, sodium and calcium are at the top. They all react violently with the acid. Now remember, the acid the 3 common ones that we've talked about so far are hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid and nitric acid. So you need to be able to write the word equations for any of those, and we'll show you. Magnesium, aluminium, zinc, iron and lead all react with acid, but not as violently. So you will notice effervescence or fizzing. And then this is the key bit where hydrogen comes in. If the metal is below hydrogen in the reactivity series, that metal will not react with dilute acids. So that means that copper, silver and gold will not react with the dilute acids. Now, you've got to be able to write those word equations. So zinc will react with nitric acid, and the salt that will be formed, we already know hydrogen is released, the salt that will be formed is zinc nitrate. Now, what's happened is that the nitric acid has a formula of NHO3. That means it contains hydrogen. So, because the zinc is more reactive than the hydrogen, what's happened in the reaction is that the zinc forms a compound with the nitrogen and oxygen in the place of the hydrogen. So you get zinc nitrate, and that's when the hydrogen gas is released. So the products of the reaction are zinc nitrate and hydrogen. Now, it's the same principle with the other 2 acids, okay? So you've got to be able to write the word equations, but it's the same principle in the fact that if the metal is reacting with the acid, the metal will take the place of the hydrogen and then the hydrogen gas will be released. Now, earlier on in the lesson, we talked about magnesium and hydrochloric acid. Here's your example with zinc and nitric acid. So remember which salts form with those acids. Then we've got another example with sulfuric acid. So if you react zinc with sulfuric acid, you will get zinc sulfate and the hydrogen gas. If you react lead with sulfuric acid, your salt is lead sulfate and hydrogen gas. And if you added copper to sulfuric acid, there will be no reaction. And you must be able to explain that. The fact is that copper, like gold and silver, is below hydrogen in the reactivity series, so they don't react. They don't react with the acid. It can't replace the hydrogen in that acid. Right. Key points from that lesson then are the salt and the hydrogen gas that is produced as a result of a metal and an acid reacting, and the test. Really important that you know what the test for hydrogen is. So the fact that if you think there's a possibility of hydrogen gas being released, if you bring a lighted splint to the gas that is released, if it is hydrogen, it will squeaky pop. Right, time for you to go and do the worksheet and see if you are clear on everything we've covered in this lesson, and then we'll see you again very soon for the next lesson.